Before I say anything else, I think I need to congratulate the good people of Federal Republic of Somalia for joining the East Africa community. But also, I wanted to congratulate the people of East Africa for bringing Somalia to the community. By bringing Somalia means that we are expanding the territory, we are expanding trade, and probably we are expanding prosperity of the people of East Africa. I've been asked to speak about the rules of origin under the EAC and the common market, under customs union. But before I say something about these rules, I would like to highlight the background to EAC, but also to the customs union. The efforts to integrate the East Africa region began in the 1920s during the colonial time, and after independence in the early 1960s, there were efforts to federate the East African states. Especially these efforts were led by Mwalimu Nyerere, who was the first president of United Republic of Tanzania. He was the one who was at the forefront that the three countries at that time, Kenya, Uganda, Tanganyika, and also Zanzibar, to federate, to unite, and become one federal republic. Unfortunately, the efforts were not successful. The negotiations collapsed at the end of 1963 in that year, but in the next year, 1964, Tanganyika and Zanzibar went forward to federate and form the United Republic of Tanzania. After that failure, in 1967, the three states, Kenya, Uganda, and the United Republic of Tanzania, formed what I can call now the initial East African community. And this community specifically was focusing on economic issues, customs union, common market, and other things. And also we were talking about common services in East Africa. As you might remember, this initial East African community collapsed in 1977 after 10 years. So because of several problems, some of them being political. Now, after the collapse, still the spirit of bringing back the community was there. In 1999, the three countries again, Republic of Kenya, Republic of Uganda, and the United Republic of Tanzania, they signed a treaty for the establishment of the East Africa community, which is now still existing. Now, subsequently, or in the latter years, other members joined: Burundi, Rwanda, South Sudan, DRC, and your good country, Republic of Somalia, joined just last year. So one thing that I probably needed to mention here, unlike the initial East Africa community which collapsed in 1977, as I said, this particular East Africa community is aimed to end up in a political union, which is called in the treaty as a political federation. So actually Article 5 of the treaty for the establishment of the East Africa community, it lists about 4 main stages. The first one being customs union, the second being common market. Yes, should I use this one? Okay, use this one? Okay. Okay. Yes. A common market, then a monetary union, and ultimately a political federation. So the idea is to enhance economic integration, industrial cooperation, and fractionation, but also a cultural integration of the peoples of East Africa. I needed to mention one thing, because also I believe I was called here because of a member of a committee which has been given a responsibility to draft the Constitution of East African Federation. That's why I needed to mention this one. In 2017, the summit, the heads of state met in Dar es Salaam, and they made a decision that we are going to, instead of going to a federation, we start with one thing, what they called a political confederation. So in 2018 and 2019, in those 2 years, a committee of constitutional experts was formed. Fortunately, I was privileged to be a member of that committee. This committee is given a responsibility to consult stakeholders, and then propose a model, what is called a confederal union. Okay, the team has so far collected public opinion in his maybe I continue this way. The team has collected public opinion in the Republic of Burundi, in Uganda, but also in Kenya last year. This year, the team was supposed to visit the Republic of South Sudan and the United Republic of Tanzania. We are still waiting, maybe due to logistical issues by the Secretariat of the East Africa Community. They are still handling. So, what I would say about this, it is expected, and I think the Secretariat of the East Africa Community is going to contact the Republic of Somalia. We need 3 members we need to be appointed to join the team. Normally we have 2 constitutional experts and 1 drafts person. So each country normally is represented by 3 officials. As I've said, 2 constitutional experts and 1 drafts person. So I expect the government of Federal Republic of Somalia would appoint its members to join the team. And probably we expect in the future for the government of Somalia to invite the team also to come here to collect public opinion and how do we want that confederation to be. Now, having that said, let me come back to my topic, that is customs union. Article 75 of the treaty establishes a customs union. And this, according to this provision, Article 75, in 2004, a protocol on the customs union was adopted. And actually, after 1 year, in 2005, the customs union was established formally. The protocol and the treaty, they say there should be rules of origin. The rules of origin. Now, these rules of origin members, they relate to business. The first, simply, these rules are used to determine the originality of goods that are sold in the EAC. Okay, so in order for goods to be to get a preferential treatment, that is supposed not to pay export duties that are called, you have to prove, first of all, that these goods were produced within East Africa. So, for instance, if it is a businessman from Somalia is going to Kenya selling some goods, he has to prove that these goods were produced in Somalia in order to be exempted from export or import duties. So the rules are there to determine the originality for the purpose of determining where they have been produced. The rationale for these rules, the rationales are two. The first, they prevent abuse from businessmen, okay, or business people, because those who are doing business, they are likely, for instance, I'm giving an example, selling Chinese goods and presenting them as from, for instance, United Republic of Tanzania. I have got Chinese goods, then I bring them to Somalia, disguising them. These are produced in Tanzania so that I don't pay import duties. So the rules prevent abuse of that advantage under the customs union. The second reason or rationale is to encourage production internally. If we sell that what we produce, that means that we are going to increase the production within the region. And that means economic prosperity within the region. So the rules encourage people to produce internally so that they can get benefit under the customs union. The rules themselves, members, they are complex. They are complex in nature because of the business or the complexities that exist. They are also based on the interconnectedness of the world. The world is globalized, as we say. So sometimes the goods that are produced here in Somalia, for instance, some materials have been obtained elsewhere, in China, in Saudi Arabia, or in Ethiopia. Okay? So that's the complexity of this rule. Because of interconnectedness and because of business that we do, raw materials could be fetched from elsewhere. The rules are saying, in order to prove that actually those goods originate from your territory, you have to prove first that the majority, I mean the good percentage of the materials that were used come from that country. But also, if the material that were used come from elsewhere, they are likely to be rejected. You might be imposed or obliged to pay import taxes. So the rules talks about the criteria that is used for the purpose of determining whether the goods were produced within the territory or the East Africa region or they were produced elsewhere. One rule which is provided in Rule 5 is saying goods wholly produced in a partner state. So they provide how do we determine that the goods were being produced in a particular partner state. But also there are other rules. The processes. They are saying, for instance, if, for instance, the goods were produced in China, I'm giving an example, but packaging is done here, then it cannot get advantage because those would be Chinese goods. Branding, maybe somebody could do branding and some packaging and something of the sort. So branding or packaging normally does not change the situation that those goods have been produced outside the East Africa region. But also there are other rules. They want issuance of a certificate. So each partner state is required to designate an authority that would issue those certificates to signify whether those rules were originally produced in that particular state. So, for instance, in Tanzania, I think I've been told this Tanzania Chamber of Commerce is the one which issues those certificates. It has been designated by the government of the United Republic of Tanzania to issue those certificates. So, in short, what I might wish to say, the rules of origin which are made under the protocol, they are meant to determine whether goods are produced within the region or they are being produced elsewhere. That's in short. Of course, there are challenges. There are challenges to this system. One is that delay, because now every time the authorities will have to inspect the goods, and the business people normally, they care about the time, okay? So goods will have to be inspected to find out whether they've been produced internally. But also, this process has led to complaints about aggravation of costs, because if you are looking for the certificate, you have to wait somewhere for your goods to be inspected. So all this, there are people who have complained that it has led to increase of costs instead of reducing the cost for business. But also, business people have also complained about this process of checking whether the goods were produced internally, because the business people are interested in making a profit, they're interested in the cost, they're interested in traveling quickly. So in most cases, they would be stopped for the purpose of inspecting the goods, whether they have been produced internally. And you would understand. You would understand, because in order to promote internal trade within the EAC, these rules are necessary despite these problems. Now, what are the recommendations, members? The first recommendation, especially for the people of Somalia who have joined this union, is that there is a need to conduct public awareness programs for all stakeholders. Those who they deal with them, actually including business people, the authorities that deal with these things, law enforcement officials, and all that are involved in this sector need to be aware about the rules of origin, because sometimes they may complain that they are being delayed, they are being harassed because they don't understand the gist or the presence of these rules. But also I would like to advise the people of Somalia, or the government of Somalia, to designate an authority, an institution that would issue certificates of origin as the rules require. So I think that's very important. You should have one institution which business people must know they are going there to get a certificate. And that would actually make things simple for them. Number three, also another recommendation, that we need cooperation. The governments in the partner states need to cooperate. When there are problems or complaints about delays, about maybe mistreatment or something else, they need to sort out. So the governments need to work closely in order to resolve the problem that appear in the course of process. Another recommendation, the fourth one, the governments, all governments in East Africa needed to encourage local production for the purpose of developing, for Somalia, I would say, for the purpose of developing Somalia, but also the region in general. So there is a need to encourage local production, and because I said, with local production, we are assured of local prosperity. And if our business people always sell foreign goods, then we are developing those societies and they will remain poor. The last one is, I would also advise the government to encourage producers to add value to their products, and that I think it would be very important. So for instance, here in Somalia, you keep goats, I think. I have been somewhere where I've seen a lot of goats. So if you are selling your goats to Kenya, probably they should be processed, packed, so that the value would increase instead of selling goats themselves. So in short, I would say again, the rules of origin are very important for the reasons that I have given. They encourage production internally, but also they prevent business people who might wish to abuse them, trying to sell foreign goods and they get advantage under the customs union. Having said so, I would like to thank you for listening. Thank you very much.